What's good, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Focus Football alongside Field Yates and Mike Clay. My name is Daniel Dopp, and we have a huge Thursday show planned for you. It is our Week 3 preview, part 1, talking about a bunch of wide receivers and the wide receiving core we're going to dive into, as well as Mike Clay's shadow report.
Yep.
Maybe we're going to give it a long shot or two towards the end of the show as well, and then obviously a Thursday Night Football preview between the Bills and the Dolphins. So a lot planned on the show today. I obviously am wearing buttons, as I always do, because you guys decided not to wear nice shirts today.
We're casual, as usual. We are casual. It's Dress Down Thursday.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
You guys didn't text me in the group?
Well, you do the opposite.
Oh, that's right.
Casual,
Okay.
So you dress fancy.
I got to dress up on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Actually, Daniel, I don't mean to out you, but a little peek behind the curtain. Mike and I did text you. It's just that nobody reads their phone less than Daniel.
Slower and less than I do. That's fair.
That's true.
That's fair. That checks out.
How many unread texts do you have right now?
Right now, my unread text messages, hold on, let me pull them
give
up
us a number, 'cause
on
I'm
my
at
phone. Only 14.
Okay.
Only 14.
So that's
Surprisingly,
I
I'm
see
I'm
why
getting
it
better.
works for you. Is that
And all
you don't
14
have
are me, probably.
not to throw away like all of your life, but like you don't have it like as a solo icon on your phone.
No.
You have to like enter a folder to get into your messages.
Correct. I have
explains
all of
a lot more.
my work emails and Slack and my Microsoft Teams and all that. The problem is, Field, and I don't know if you guys ever do this, but Rosie and I just got a rower. So we've been trying to like work out more. I've been rowing more often recently. I actually recently discovered where my hamstrings are.
Oh.
Because
I'm still
I had,
working on that.
I had no idea where they existed until they started to hurt, and I was like, I don't think something's wrong with my legs, and I think I recognize now what all these NFL players go through on a daily basis.
So you are rowing too much.
I'm doing
Check your
too
text.
much, exactly. So I can't look at my phone, guys. I'm trying to.
We're at that age now, guys.
I gotta.
Well, you and I are.
Yes,
Field's not there
Field.
yet.
Field, you're still young.
Getting there.
He is a year or two.
Your
getting
your
there.
age starts with a T still rather than an F.
I'm in my mid-30s.
All right, well, quickly, before we get into anything else, I'll give a big shout out to our friends over at Trophy Smack. Head over to TrophySmack.com. Use the promo code FOCUS10 for 10% off your first order. It's a lot of good stuff over there for your league, so go check them out. TrophySmack.com. All right, let's dive into the ultimate wide receiver outlook here, my friends. Talk about a bunch of different wide receivers here. We got a couple of games we're going to talk about, but let's start with the Chicago Bears wide receivers, if you don't mind, because I want to ask you guys a question about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that it only took 2 weeks for Rome Odunze to become the #1 wide receiver in Chicago?
Yes.
That was fast.
My answer is actually no. I think it happened like August 10th, maybe.
before the season.
Semantics.
Yeah, semantics. But I'm making the same point that Mike is. Like, it's not that crazy of a thought. It was maybe a bit of low-hanging fruit, but it was one of the bold predictions we had during the preseason was that sooner rather than later, Rome Odunze becomes the guy in the Chicago wide receiver room. I made this point earlier on in the week. This is not like a fourth-round pick who has a good training camp, who leapfrogs a guy who's been there, done that for 8 years with the franchise and is still very much in the prime of his physical career. Rome's awesome. He's a second-year pro. He was the 9th overall pick in the NFL draft last year, who could have gone even higher than that, and nobody would have been surprised. He's got a chemistry with Caleb Williams. It's a new play caller in Ben Johnson, so it's not like the offense they are playing now is the exact same one they were last year, where most of it might have been funneled through DJ Moore. It's not a surprise, and I think the conversation actually shifts at some point from, is he the #1 receiver in Chicago? We agree that is the case, to, is he a top 15 wide receiver in fantasy? Top 12? How high?
Yeah, I mean, I have him ranked as such this week. I have him 12th. I have DJ Moore at 25th. So I will say this. We love them both this week. It's a great matchup against Dallas, who has struggled, third most fantasy points to receivers so far, and you've just seen it on film, too. Could have some help back with Deron Bland, but nonetheless, it's a situation where they're going to be throwing the ball plenty. Good matchups for the most part, so we like them both. But yeah, I mean, Odunze, for me, is a top 15 option right now until he proves otherwise.
I have the same thing. Right now, consensus at ESPN, Rome Odunze, wide receiver 13, DJ Moore, wide receiver 25. So it definitely feels like here 2 weeks into the season, things have kind of shifted. DJ Moore's still startable.
Too. Yeah,
for sure.
Moore's got 11 targets in 2 weeks. I think Odunze's now, plus DJ has 3 or 4 rushing attempts. So they're using DJ a little bit creatively. And by the way, DeAndre Swift is banged up right now, so perhaps DJ Moore gets 5 carries this game. I'm not sure it'll amount to a ton, but still, every touch does help you just a little bit. But it's clearly Rome Odunze is their #1 target option. And for now, and this could change, but for now, they're getting virtually nothing out of Colston Loveland, the 10th overall pick in this year's draft. One of the concerns coming into the season was, have we gotten too far in over our skis with all members of the Bears offense? Like, is there a pathway for Rome Odunze and DJ Moore to be startable and Colston Loveland to have real value as a tight end? Maybe that can still happen. It hasn't yet. And the fact that Loveland has been such a non-factor is actually a benefit for Rome Odunze in my opinion.
It's such a bummer to me that Loveland has started the way he has, because Olamide Zaccheaus is actually second on this team in targets, even ahead of DJ Moore. I think
Zaccheaus is fine, though. Like, I'm okay with him.
Yes, he's fine. But when you draft a tight end in the first round and then you go out and get a Luther Burden, they haven't even played either of their second round picks yet. I realize we're talking fantasy here, but like, Bears have had an interesting first 2 rounds of their draft with how they have been deployed through the first 2 weeks of the season.
It's early, definitely. But so it's been a big benefit for Rome. But yeah, I mean, I think he's proved to be one of the better value picks in fantasy so far.
Yeah.
At least amongst wide receivers. I remember the big conversation Mike always said in the preseason, like wide receiver 18 to like wide receiver 35 felt the same.
They're very close.
Like the range of outcomes for those players. Yeah. But Rome has separated himself from that pack that includes the likes of, and I'm just going to throw a couple names out there, Jerry Jeudy and George Pickens and Jalen Waddle, who were drafted around Rome Odunze, obviously through 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks, but through 2 weeks, Odunze has been better than any of those names mentioned.
Over in our YouTube chat right now, our buddy Eric Moody hanging out, and we actually have a question from our YouTube chat. Okay. This one comes from Josiah Baker. In a 12-team Superflex league, he got offered Drake May, Quentin Johnston, and DJ Moore for Rome Odunze and Cooper Kupp.
That's pretty enticing, I'm not going to lie, because it's a 12-team Superflex, which means it's basically a 2-quarterback league. So to me, clearly the 2 most valuable assets in that deal right now, Drake May and Rome Odunze. Yeah. Honestly, like, even if the deal was just straight up Drake May for Rome Odunze, like, that's to me a legitimately fair
league
trade. Yeah, in a Superflex league for sure. Drake has more upside than probably any of your wide receivers or running backs that you would reasonably have as your super flex option. So yeah.
The idea I could trade Rome Odunze for the other wide receiver in Chicago and get a quarterback feels like great value. I would take that.
I'd be curious to know what his quarterback situation is. You know, if May's your third quarterback, because it's week 3. So in theory, you should already have 2 starting quarterbacks.
Right.
So, but if maybe May is,
could have been a Joe Burrow
maybe
team.
It's a Joe Burrow situation, that would make a difference for sure. Also, like, do we think DJ Moore gets traded?
Yes, thank you so much. I was going to bring this up, Michael.
I don't think it's this year.
You don't think so? Even if they're, I mean, they're what? They're 0-2, right?
Yeah, they are 0-2.
I don't think it's this year. I think that a couple things here. Luther Burden's not ready yet. If he were ready, he'd be playing.
But is he ready in week 8?
Maybe.
I mean, if you're out of it, it seems like
maybe it depends on how
smart move.
It depends on how discontent the player is.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he was discontent last year, and I don't know how much better it is.
It was not overtly stated by DJ Moore. Like, I'm unhappy to be here. There certainly were some disconcerting signs.
Yeah, for sure.
He was my bust pick at wide receiver this year. DJ Moore was, so I'm not totally shocked by the start of the season for him. It's also early. He could definitely get back on track. Like, if he had an 11 target game with 9 for 89 in the touchdown this weekend, none of us would be surprised. He's still a very talented guy.
I got both of these wide receivers as starters. I'm not starting either Bears tight end. In the other side, they're taking on the Dallas Cowboys. I think we're starting all the pass catchers here.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, and I'd start Jake Ferguson with what the tight end situation looks like.
Cool, baby. Yes.
It's going to be a very fun passing game between the Bears and the Cowboys this week.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
Let's talk about the Chiefs. I mean, a little bit of news here because right now Xavier Worthy is practicing.
Yep.
There's at least rumblings that he might be out there on the field. But, Field, we talked about with Stefania, what is he going to look like when he comes back, knowing that he's potentially going to still be dealing with that shoulder injury?
Yeah, the question mark is, if he plays on Sunday, is it just basically a ticking time bomb? Until he takes a dramatic hit or a big hit, is he going to take one hit, get knocked out, or get knocked down, not knocked out. But if he gets knocked down, takes one above average hit, is he yanked from the game? So to me, it's a decision you have to make. You dance with the devil or you don't. There's plenty of upside because I want to call back to something that Kurt Warner said on the week 1 broadcast down in Brazil, because he was talking about, and this was after Xavier Worthy got hurt. They were describing the impact of this. And he was saying, we're talking to Andy Reid and Matt Nagy, and they're telling us left and right how much the offense is going to revolve around Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of reasons why the Chiefs are struggling right now on offense. That might be a decent level of explainer for it, right? Like, if the guy that you were planning on building your passing attack is gone, or all but 3 plays is gone, like that would help excuse some of the very pedestrian numbers so far.
When the guy misses the game after playing 3 snaps and then the person that takes over his role gets 16 targets,
correct, yeah.
It makes me think that there was a large game plan set up for that person.
And that was the case for, 6 to 8 weeks then last season. So that was not a surprise with Rashee Rice out. And they maybe beat the Eagles if they have Worthy. I mean, that was a big loss for them, and it has really crushed their passing game.
So let's work through this. If he doesn't play, obviously, we know what that means. It means
you're playing
Hollywood and Travis Kelce, and that's it.
That's it.
If he does play, Mike, and I was looking at the projections, and I was a little surprised. So I have him in the War Room League, and the team is off to a rough start, in part because we lost our 4th-round pick 3 plays into the season, and then our quarterback not long after that, and then our backup quarterback not long after that. So we're the walking wounded, but you know what? You gotta believe. You gotta believe, baby.
That's right.
But I was sitting there looking at the projections. We happen to have Wan'Dale Robinson on the bench. And the projections this week are actually not that far off between Xavier Worthy.
0.9 points apart, yeah.
You just know that off the top of your head?
It's right in front of me.
Okay.
Okay.
They're playing each other. They're literally right next to each other.
Okay.
12.5 for Worthy, 11.6 for Worthy.
I was like, I thought for sure Mike just was locked in.
Definitely did not tell you that beforehand. So is the pessimistic projection for Worthy? Because healthy Worthy, because of the injury, that's it?
Yeah, well, it's baking in the risk that he's limited.
Okay.
So, I don't like...
I think
if a guy's projected for 14 points and he's like 50-50 to play, I don't put him at 7. All right, I either pick he's either in or out. However, in a situation like this, I don't know if he's going to be on a snap count or something, or there's a possibility of him having a setback. So I put the target share a little lower than I would if he was 100% healthy. Like if we were at, let's say he's healthy through week 1, week 2. He might be at a 25% target share. I'm like at 20.
Okay.
So I baked in some concern.
It feels like it's kind of you're in or you're out, right? Like
I'm out.
You can. Oh, you're out. Okay.
I'm out.
So I mean on the player. Like I'm saying, the team either says like you're either playing or you're not playing. Not like hey you're playing, but we're only going to play you 60% of the snaps. I think he reaches a threshold where it's like you're good enough to play, and we just hope for the best while you are healthy, because it's something like you're one hit away from having to go down the other path, might be surgery.
Yep.
But until that time, you are playing.
So do you think, like, he's a guy that'll handle 5% of the carries as well. So you think they're really going to hand it off to him?
They might
I don't
be
know. Like,
smarter about how they
that's
deploy
what I mean.
him.
Like, that's what I baked in a little bit of that. Like, there might be certain things he can't do. And also, I also kept it a little lower because what if he can't do it? What if he's in there and he's playing a little bit and he falls or he takes a hit and he's just like, he's out.
That would suck.
Like, I mean, that's why I projected him as like a flex option.
That's
so 10-team leagues, I think you avoid him. 12-team leagues, he might be your best flex option.
Yeah.
That's how I projected him this week. And I think that's how I'm approaching him. I have him on some teams. I believe you do as well. Like, that's how I'm looking at it.
All right, so then let's take another question from our YouTube chat right now, because YouTube is popping off with us talking about Xavier Worthy. A lot of people have questions because...
is it Xavier Worthy versus Wan'Dale Robinson?
Cameron Mitchell.
Is
Xavier Worthy a better flex option than DeAndre Swift?
We don't mention the word Swift around Worthy, okay?
Oh, that's fair.
About why Travis Kelce ran him over. You know, Taylor had some nice things to say about Xavier Worthy.
We got Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I'm joking, obviously. But this is an easy one for me. It's DeAndre Swift. I love him in this game against Dallas. I'd be looking at anytime touchdowns. I'd be looking at a lot for this one. I think
Could you be cooking up a parlay for ESPN Bet this weekend?
I am. He's not in that one. But someone on Chicago is going to be in the parlay. So we'll get to that at some point. Still working on that. But I'm going to be invested in that game. And I have no issue, obviously, using Swift. I actually, when I was working on it last night, I don't think he had an anytime touchdown listed just yet, but anyway, keep an eye out for that one. I think it might have came in this morning at around even money, so I like it. Anyway, that's an aside. Regardless, DeAndre Swift featured in week 1, and then last week we saw him featured again. There was a little bit of
got banged up for a minute.
Yeah, he was mixed. Well, he was mixed in. He was getting a series here or there throughout the entire game, and then Swift rested at the end of the game. But up until that point, he played like 68% of the snaps. Week 1, he was 81%. So he has been featured. He looks good. Yeah. We need a little more passing game involvement, but and the offense is scoring just enough. So I think the easy call here.
This week, I would rather not play Xavier Worthy because I'm just worried about what happens if he exits the game early. Not just because he's hurt, but because he just realizes I'm going to be on a snap count. We're only going to have a certain amount. I would rather go a different direction with my flex play. I want to ask you one question really quickly about this team's wide receiving core, and then we can move on. But knowing that this has now happened to Xavier Worthy and we have some potential panic around what the rest of his season looks like, I'll say this as a statement. If the manager of Rashee Rice has started 0-3 after this week, knowing what I think Rashee Rice's role will be in this offense now that Xavier Worthy is banged up, I am putting in a hefty offer to try and get him before he comes back, because I could see Rice just coming in immediately and being the de facto wide receiver 1, and we thought it was going to be a wide receiver by committee once Rashee Rice came back. So I'm thinking about, if depending on, not every league is going to work out this way, but if the Rice manager is struggling, I'm putting in a hefty bid to be able to see if I can get him from the squad.
It might not even have to be hefty.
I mean, if they're 0-3, they need something.
Moderate. Yeah.
So, all right. For the other side of this, just really quickly, obviously you're starting Malik Neighbors, but would you guys start Wan'Dale Robinson after the start that he's had?
So
Mike,
I am absolving myself from this conversation. I have the Xavier Worthy versus Wan'Dale Robinson in a 16-team.
Yeah, 16-team league. Yeah. What would you do, Mike?
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard of Reddy Stewart?
Reddy Stewart. That's a NASCAR driver?
No.
Sounds like it. Maybe a pit crew manager.
That was the slot corner for Dallas last week because Deron Bland was out.
Okay.
Wan'Dale Robinson. He had a big game. He had a big game in that one. That's kind of why we're keeping an eye on Deron Bland this week, because that could be your guy Zacchaeus too. Match up with him. He took advantage of a good situation. They are utilizing him a little differently. His route tree a little bit, which I like to see. I think he's a decent player.
Right? What? Do you know who he is now?
Oh,
Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know who he is now?
Who has he become?
East Coast Tyler Lockett.
Okay.
Russ was drawing that comp, and it kind of makes sense.
All right. Yeah, I like. But anyway, the short answer is yes. I mean, I think he's on the flex radar. As I mentioned, I have him ranked back-to-back with Xavier Worthy. So
guys are zero help.
Yeah, which really making it difficult on you.
Just chat. Help me out here.
Let's do a poll.
Yeah, poll in the chat.
Who would you rather start?
Xavier Worthy or Wan'Dale Robinson?
I'd be nervous. I feel
on
like
which
it's Robinson.
Okay.
I feel like Robinson this week. I'm just looking for an excuse to bench Worthy. I feel like if he catches a long touchdown, I'm okay with it for this week. Just for this week.
I will probably egg Mike's house if I choose Wan'Dale Robinson and Xavier Worthy outscores him, just for the record. But it's at least under discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
I want chat's thoughts though too.
I would love to know. Honestly, this is going to be a really interesting situation, because I think a lot of people, if you have Xavier Worthy, you just know he's so much better than a lot of the guys that you're starting him around, but you've just got to be able to keep all the things in mind, unfortunately. All right. Let's dive into Mike Clay's shadow report.
Whoa.
What?
We're doing
Neither
that
one
already?
of us got to do anything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I did not realize that you guys had your own versions of things.
Yeah, we've got lots of wide receiver conversations.
Oh, this is on me. That's my fault, my friends.
All right, Mike, you go first.
You want me to go first? Okay. Yeah. First one on my list here is the Eagles against the Rams. We're looking at Eagles wide receivers and how we feel about them right now, because it's been a slow start for both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Look, I think that they're going to be okay. I think it's kind of all systems go. You look at week one, we've talked about this. I won't go too into it, but Dallas was very zone heavy in that game, a lot of too high. And so naturally the Eagles didn't try to force the ball downfield, and it worked out well for them. Last week, they tried a 41% target share for A.J. Brown, 9 targets, but just 27 yards. Devontae Smith, a little better, 6 targets and 53 yards. Look, the Eagles have only attempted 45 passes so far this season. All 5 of their touchdowns have been rushes. That'll be closer to 50-50 like it's been the last few years. And some injuries in the Rams secondary with Ahkello Witherspoon done for the year, probably their best corner. So I think this will be a competitive game. I know it's in Philly. Last time these teams played, it was the snow game, so we didn't see much out of them. But earlier in the regular season, both Eagles receivers were much better. So I think they get back on track this week in what should be a good game.
Fun fact. Saquon Barkley has over 200 rushing yards in each of his last 2 games against the Rams. Just a fun fact that does tie into this game. I'm not saying it changes how Mike stated the wide receivers may or may not do, but if Saquon goes off this weekend once again,
Rams defense is good, but the secondary is where they're struggling a little bit right now, where they have some holes from injury. So, I think it's a week. I think they get them going.
Eagles wide receivers get it going this week. I like it.
Stay patient there. Stay patient. I have Brown 15th. It's a little, maybe a tiny bit lower than where we had him coming into the season, but still a good wide receiver too. Devontae Smith 36. So flex option, wide receiver 3.
I've got a line that will apply to A.J. Brown that I'm going to use in just a couple of moments when we dive into one of my topics. But I'm making a mental note to use this line. It's going to probably win me an Emmy.
Okay. Deal.
Do you have any other topics?
Oh, another one for me? Okay. We're just flying through them here. I'm used to just taking turns.
We usually go in circles.
Well, Daniel did all of
I did both of mine. Yeah. Listen, there's a reason for this madness, unfortunately. So
So I guess we're talking AFC West wide receivers here. So here's my question, and I kind of foreshadowed this yesterday. Going forward this season, are we going to be starting 3 Chargers wide receivers?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? All right, so if not, then who is out?
Quentin Johnston.
You think so? Okay.
The touchdowns are awesome.
Yeah.
It still feels like, what was it, 2 catches for 60 yards on Monday night?
He still had a decent amount of targets. I don't remember exactly what the stat line was, but I mean, he's just as busy as the other 2. He's first in air yards by a lot.
He's busier than the other 2.
Let me ask you something, Mike, because you forecasted or foreshadowed this, I think, yesterday. You were like, we're going to talk more about this Greg Roman offense and how it's playing.
Yeah.
Is that for right now, or is that for?
That's for right now, because the other part of this is that
aggressive they are.
So first of all, they are the pass heaviest offense in the NFL so far, and that may balance out a little bit, but it's clearly part of their plan right now. The other part is if you take their running backs and their tight ends and you add up all of their targets so far this season, it equals 11. And that's 18%. So that means 73% of the targets are going, and not including like Trey Harris or the other guys, 73% of the targets have gone just to those 3 guys. Wow. If that sustains itself, they can put together 3 top 30 seasons.
I guess the one thing for me is that Quentin Johnston only having 8 catches but 3 touchdowns for 150 yards. When you're averaging over 5 points a reception in fantasy football, like that seems like an unsustainable number to me, right?
However, the targets are Keenan Allen 16, Ladd McConkey 14, Quentin Johnston 14.
So when I asked if Keenan Allen is crushing Ladd McConkey's ceiling, it wasn't even Keenan Allen. It was like this entire passing attack. Ladd McConkey is just like not the de facto number 1 wide receiver anymore. It's just a 3-headed committee.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And you have like Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey are more short range targets. Quentin Johnston's the deep threat. He's the big play guy. So it could work out. Like he might not catch as many passes, but he's going to hit for more touchdowns and bigger plays, and McConkey and Allen will be a little better in PPR, but at the end of the season, I could see them all finishing top.
This is one of those hard things in fantasy where you have a guy that you didn't expect at the beginning of the season, all of a sudden starts out super hot. Yeah. Javonte Williams is the same kind of guy. And you say to yourself, did I just find a diamond in the rough, or do I need to find a way to parlay this into a better player for my squad through a trade? If you guys had Quentin Johnston, and I recognize it is very team dependent based on the rest of your roster, but do you think that this is more, it's going to last long enough that you want to stay in the Quentin Johnston business, or would you want to find a way to get out?
Give me a name. I have Quentin Johnston, and I can get X, and I'll tell you whether I would do it.
I'm going to look at a running back because
a wide receiver, just so we can.
You like another wide receiver?
Wide receiver, whatever. Just because you're already on the page.
If you could trade Quentin Johnston for Tedero McMillan, would you rather have Tedero McMillan?
Tedero McMillan by a mile.
Yeah. Okay. Would you rather have?
How about Jamison Williams?
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Same thing to me.
Yeah.
Is Marvin Harrison Jr. in that same boat just because of his name?
Marvin, but not by much, unfortunately.
All right. What about George Pickens?
I thought about that.
Pickens,
I want to see Pickens this week. I think it's a big week for Pickens. Yeah.
Okay.
He's had close calls.
Yeah. Devontae Smith?
Devontae Smith. I would slight lean to Devontae. I think we're getting in the vicinity now. This is like borderline top 30.
And now it's like, and I'm going to list a bunch of them because at this point it's like the Chris Olave, Keon Coleman, Jerry Jeudy, Travis Hunter, Ricky Pearsall.
This is the problem with this area. I feel like he's right in that category.
Like he belongs there.
Olave is the interesting one to me only because he has a zillion targets. Like, and he might have 150 targets.
Olave?
This year. Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. I just don't know what to do with that.
He might have 150 targets and 3 touchdowns this year. Is the problem, right?
I talked about this with Bill Barnwell yesterday in his podcast. It's just like the pass volume and the speed of that offense is great, and it's like we're all about volume is king. We love volume, chase volume, but they're averaging like 4.5 yards per attempt. It's like, is it going to be a little better than that at some point? Or,
this is what it's going to be okay. Hey, and by the way,
patch us up on the back. No, I mean, I was only on Breakfast Club yesterday, but Mike's on Bill Barnwell.
I name drop when I can. If I can name drop, I guess someone like Bill Barnwell, I got to do it.
Bill's the best.
I love Bill. That checks out. We all love Bill. Okay.
Is it my turn yet or no?
Yeah, I think
one more.
Okay, hold on.
Speaking of potential league winners in that division, your boy, Troy Franklin. I think we're the quick conversation. 9 targets, a 30% target share last week, 100 yards total because he had a carry too, a touchdown, 9 touches. Look, he's still 68% available in ESPN leagues. That might have went down a little bit overnight, but it's close to that. My only concern here with him is he played 85% of the snaps last week, potentially a breakout game for him. He could go down as one of the league winners this year. But week 1, he played 58% of the snaps. So who's the real Troy Franklin? Is this a guy that now established himself as a number 2 in this offense? Because I still think it's Courtland Sutton. Tough matchup last week. I still think he's clearly the one.
Yep.
But if Franklin is an every down player now in the 2, and he has the trust of Sean Payton and Bo Nix, can he keep this going? Is this a guy that's in that Quentin Johnson conversation that's a weekly starter now in fantasy? So, a fascinating one for me. I have him at 44 this week against the Chargers. I think he's a 12-team league flex option, and I have a little bit of optimism. This is a second-year receiver. Could be a breakout.
Okay.
Same. I'm with you on that. We all thought that it was going to be Evan Engram as the number 2 pass catcher, but we were wrong because Evan Engram is actually just the number 2 tight end on this squad right now behind Adam Troutman.
Yes, he's on the bench.
Yeah, this is it has been, maybe this is something that we need like a 30 for 30 on or something. Like, what happened to these tight ends? Like,
seriously,
Mark Andrews just like being phased out. Like, what is going on?
TJ Hawkinson has not returned value. Evan Engram has been.
Yeah, I guess so. That one's maybe a little bit more explainable than guys just not playing or being targeted anymore who were fantasy superstars for years. And it's not like they're 36. Yeah. I mean, Travis Kelce's getting more work and he's 35. These guys are 29, 28, 30. I don't get it. So
it's ridiculous.
Wild, yeah.
All right, the wide receiver outlook continues with my topics, unless Daniel wants to move on.
No, let's go ahead. We're going to do it. We're going to do this one.
Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football. The Lions versus the Ravens. And the question that I have, and we'll tie this to the wide receivers in just a moment, is, are the Lions more their week 1 offense, their week 2 offense, or somewhere in between against the Ravens, specifically on Monday night? Like, if they're playing bad teams, we expect them to be an absolute freight train. The Ravens have played 2 games, one in which they dominated the Browns offense, the other in which they actually were really good against the Bills defense for the first 2.5 quarters. And then Josh Allen became Super Josh. We have a sign of him right over here. That's Super Josh over there. He was incredible. So I think that the Ravens...
There it is.
You're doing it. There you go.
I didn't know which side it was. I was doing this and then trying to figure out. I still can't do it.
I don't know what to make of this Ravens defense against this Lions offense. So here's what we know. For this game specifically, there's 2 wide receivers that will be in lineups. Amon-Ra is going to be in lineups.
Yep.
Zay Flowers is going to be in lineups. Even in a low passing attempt offense, he has been excellent so far this season. It brings me to Jamison Williams, really. And I guess the entirety of the Lions pass catching group plus David Montgomery. So Amon-Ra is locked in. Jahmyr Gibbs is locked in. Can Jared Goff have a decent night on Monday night? Obviously, it's going to take big passing numbers and touchdowns for Jared Goff to be worthwhile to start in fantasy. I just don't know exactly what this matchup represents. Are you guys more in or out on this Lions offense? And I'm not talking about Jahmyr Gibbs or Amon-Ra.
In. Okay. They're going to be throwing the ball plenty. And Baltimore, again, it's not like they've been a shutdown defense so far this season. Also, Jair Alexander was a healthy scratch last week. I don't know if he's going to be back this week. At some point, he will.
He'll be back.
He's not ready to go. But in the meantime, that's one, Chidobe Awuzie, as far as number, your backup, your third perimeter corner go is pretty good, but I mean, he's not prime or peak Jair Alexander. So again, they've given up a lot through the air so far, and I think Detroit's going to have to throw the ball a ton. So I think Goff is a fringe starter. Montgomery is in that RB2 conversation as usual. You mentioned the lineup blocks, and Jamison Williams, I'm at 28. So for me, he's a pretty clear wide receiver 3 option in all formats.
It's just obviously with Jamison Williams, the potential for a 1-catch game is in play. Now, it might be for 71 yards, but it still could be just 1 catch.
Yeah, I don't know. His target share was pretty good last year. I think that rebounds.
Okay.
I'm not as worried about that.
I feel like we could.
Wasn't good in week 1, and then last week he had 2 catches.
Yeah. I know. I think he'll be okay.
2 catches for 108 yards and a touchdown. Yes. But that's the thing with JMO. Sometimes you only need 2 catches.
Have 6 targets in this game and 7 targets, whatever, and we're back on track.
I would, from the Lions, you already said this, I'm starting Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would also start Jamison Williams as a potential upside flex play. Okay. I'm also starting Sam Laporta because of the lack of tight end options available. Okay. I'm definitely starting Jahmyr Gibbs. And I actually think David Montgomery is probably more the odd man out because I'm assuming the Ravens are going to.
High-scoring game.
Yep, and he will kind of get game scripted-ish out of this game. Ravens always play the Detroit Lions. I have a lot of scar tissue from watching the Ravens recently against the Lions because we have been dominated by this squad. So especially in Baltimore, Monday Night Football, I'm starting all of those guys. I don't think I would start Jared Goff, but if you want to talk about a matchup in which he would have to play catch up in order to keep up with this squad, he's not going to be confused for Lamar Jackson with using those wheels. But I still think he's a potential top 15 quarterback if you need him this week.
I'm still mad at the NFL for scheduling all those buys in week 14, but I will thank the NFL because we have had an absolute slate of early season games.
Yeah, we have.
This is going to be an amazing end to week 3.
It really will.
Are you kidding me? We got Eagles Chiefs last week. Week 1, we had all kinds of great games. I know it's week 1 and we're excited for literally anything football, but we had some monster games week 1. Ravens and Bills on Sunday night. Are you kidding me? Chiefs Eagles last weekend. We've got, of course, this weekend or this Monday night, we've got Ravens and Lions. Hello, thank you, NFL. Next question on the ultimate wide receiver outlook. Which highly drafted wide receiver do you got in week 3, a game in which these two teams or these players play against each other on different teams? And this is going to pivot nicely into the Shadow Report conducted by Mike Clay. The two wide receivers in the conversation are, of course, Brian Thomas Jr. and Nico Collins. Which wide receiver are you more optimistic on in week 3? Daniel, you answer first.
Nico Collins.
Okay. Mike?
That's the correct answer.
That is the correct answer. Tell us why that is the answer, Mike.
Do you want me to take us to the Shadow Report, or do you just want me to?
Well, yes, but we're going to get to the Shadow Report here, but we can also flesh out this conversation a little bit more than the rest of the wide
Mike's always in such a hurry to move on from segments. Like, that's kind of his thing.
Yeah, that wasn't you at all. That was definitely me.
That was definitely
yeah, so first of all, I think that if they both had neutral matchups, based on what we've seen so far this season, I'm still going Nico Collins.
Okay, I agree.
He's just obviously outstanding. As a longer track record, he's awesome. So I would lean that way.
Better quarterback.
However, this week, better quarterback. Brian Thomas draws Derek Stingley Jr. in this matchup. The junior going up against junior. Brian Thomas Jr. and Derek Stingley Jr.
Former teammates.
Yeah, that's right. And, I know Thomas's target share has been big. That's why we still rank him as a wide receiver too. But Stingley shadowed Devontae Adams in week 1, Mike Evans in week 2 on 44 of their 49 perimeter routes. So he was glued to those two guys when they were on the outside, which Thomas often is. Adams in that week 1 game at 7.2 fantasy points. Last week, Mike Evans had 10.6. I will say this, Thomas last year, if you just look at how did he do against Houston last year? 2 very good games. One of them, Stingley shadowed him, but he was away from him and had like a touchdown. I think he had a touchdown run maybe, but had a long catch away from him. The other one, he was not shadowed by Derek Stingley. That was like early on in the
he had
season.
Mac Jones in that other one.
Yeah, Mac Jones obviously helps a lot. So for me, even if it was a toss-up, that would be enough to break the tie. But either way, I'm going Nico Collins here.
Do you guys think the Jaguars would ever consider trading Trevor Lawrence to the 49ers for Mac Jones just to be able to unlock Brian Thomas Jr. again?
Yes. 3-team trade because the 49ers feel good about Brock Purdy, obviously.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. We'd have to.
Who needs a quarterback really badly?
The Saints still?
Saints, yeah. Trevor Lawrence, the Saints.
Have we ever had a 3-team trade in the NFL field, Yates?
I don't know if those are even permitted.
Okay.
Yes.
I know in the NBA, like that's a thing that can happen.
Like 12-team trades.
Yeah.
We had a trade this past summer that tied the record for the most teams ever involved.
What was that, 5?
I think it was 6.
6.
Yeah.
Wow.
But in the NBA, what happens is they start basically the trade is agreed to between two teams, but they need to have a couple of moving parts, and they facilitate the trade through other suitors.
I'm assuming those other teams are basically just getting benefits from like saying, sure, we'll be involved in your trade because they're not giving up like assets, but like, yeah, if you need someone to take on $200,000 of salary, I guess we'll be that team.
And if you want to do an entire podcast on aprons and such, go check out the Hoop Collective.
Yes.
But the NBA salary cap is very, very complex. So yes, there are some weird multi-team trades. But anyways, I agree. I think we all agree Nico is the one we have more confidence in. Like CJ Stroud and Nico Collins have a legit rapport. Like those two guys, super tight. I wish it was the case. Last week, like Nico Collins, it was only 3 catches, but it could have been 4 for 49 and 2 touchdowns. And we might have a different tenor to our Nico Collins stock right now. 9 targets last week. I think things eventually do get back on track. Let's continue on with the Shadow Reports.
All right, let's do it. Ready?
Yes.
There it is.
Hey,
Mike plays Shadow Report
right there.
What if Mike just disappeared during the Shadow Report because he was in the shadow?
It was a shadow.
Can we turn the lights off entirely?
Go stand in the corner
That
over there.
would be funny, actually. We should find a way to do something with that.
Yeah, I'm a shadow. We can do that at Halloween. Okay, let's talk. We'll start with downgrades. I like to start negative here.
Yeah, start with negative and positive.
We just talked about Brian Thomas Jr.
I did. Yeah, we did. And that was one of the 3 negatives. So that we crossed that one off. The next one is Devontae Adams. I think he will draw Quinyon Mitchell in this one against Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles did not shadow last year, but we saw back in week 1, Mitchell shadowed with George Pickens in that game, and he shadowed a part of the time against Hollywood Brown, especially early in the game last week. If you're wondering why not Puka Nacua, it's the same reason he didn't shadow CeeDee Lamb in week 1. Lamb is in the slot a lot. He moves around a lot. Puka Nacua,
everywhere.
Yeah, same thing with Puka Nacua. He's in the slot. He's probably honestly the primary slot for the Rams this season and also get some carries as well. He's not pinned on the perimeter like George Pickens was and like Devontae Adams was as well. So I expect Mitchell to be on Adams in this game. Adams coming off a big game last week. He has a 33% target share, same as Puka Nacua.
Yep.
Those two guys are exactly what we hope for. Yep. Sean McVay features his main guys, and that's exactly what he's done this season. Yeah. Devontae Adams also.
God bless you, Daniel. God bless you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Strong feelings about this.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams also leads the NFL with 5 end zone targets so far this season, tied for the league lead. So we're still starting him, but maybe more bust potential than usual against one of the best young corners in the NFL.
Daniel just leaned over to sneeze. I met someone recently who only sneezes in 5 packs. Like they get 5 consecutive sneezes in a row.
I'm usually a 4 or 5 sneezer. I'm trying to keep it in. Yeah.
I hadn't seen 5 in a while. It was impressive.
I've never gone over 6. 6 is my max. But I get most nervous when I'm driving because when that happens and you can't stop it, I don't choose when my body decides to sneeze.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be on the highway when that happens.
Yeah. So sneezes and NBA trades max out of 5 or 6. That's what I learned today. That's why I come here. Okay.
Oh, Mike, we're so proud.
By the way, Puka Nacua, wide receiver 2 consensus. Devontae Adams, wide receiver 8 in ESPN consensus ranking. So we still think, both is going to be really good.
Puka Nacua's got a 90% catch rate so far.
Yeah, that guy is so good. I almost ranked him first this week. He's just so good. I mean, you could put him right in that conversation. The other one, guys, is Mike Evans against Sauce Gardner.
Saucy.
Look, Mike Evans is a 29% target share so far this season. That would, I believe, be his highest since like his 3rd year in the NFL. Okay. So they are featuring him for sure, but he's off to a slow start. As you know, 10 catches, 107 yards on those 19 targets. Why? He's been shadowed in both games. A.J. Terrell did a good job against him in week 1. Derek Stingley Jr., who we just talked about, did a great job against him last week. We've already seen Sauce shadow in 1 of 2 games. That was the opener against DK Metcalf, held him to 12 points. Did not shadow full-time last week, but it was very complicated with the Bills rotating the receiver so much. But anyway, again, another situation. You have a clear perimeter wide receiver who's a number 1 for his team, and you have Sauce Gardner ready to shadow those types of players. So I think he'll be on him in this game.
Can I ask a question? I asked this last week. I felt like Emeka Egbuka was in a spot where, because teams are favoring Mike Evans, that maybe he would be in a decent spot. He's found the end zone now in 2 straight weeks to start a season. Mike, you've got him as wide receiver 31 against the Jets, in spite of the fact that you think Mike Evans is going to get the Sauce shadow. Do you not think there's going to be a little bit of love potentially this week for Emeka Egbuka?
Yeah, it helps a little bit. Brandon Stevens isn't as good as Sauce Gardner, but he's still a solid corner. My main issue with Egbuka is we need more targets. I mean, his target share is hanging around 20%. That's tough to justify a guy ranked around 20 so far. So, and touchdowns have been there. That's good. You get a lot of touchdowns out of this Tampa offense. That helps for sure. But
taking advantage of opportunities, but he needs more opportunities.
Yeah, I have no issue starting him. Again, he's in that group. He's in that gigantic tier of wide receivers where it's just like, man, you got to put him in some order. We can't tier him in our ranking feed. We have to rank him in some order. So that's why he's a little lower.
All right, couple of downgrades now from the Shadow Report. Let's talk some positive guys.
Upgrades, yeah. Okay, so Washington's receivers against the Raiders. We keep picking on the Raiders. I don't have to go into this every week, but Eric Stokes, Kyu Blu Kelly, Darnay Holmes, they've led the 4th most fantasy points to receivers so far.
One caveat here, of course.
The caveat is?
Jaden Daniels might not play.
That's true. I mean, it's still a good matchup, but you're right. Yeah. Marcus Mariota will be able to take advantage if he is the starter. So McLaurin and Curtis Samuel will give them a bump. Jalen Lane as well, who's going to be the 3 this week for Noah Brown, who is sidelined with an injury. And then the other one, of course, this is both sides of this game. We can't wait for this game.
We want it all.
Bears against the Cowboys. All of the receivers in this game we're upgrading. Odunze, Moore, and Zacchaeus against Trevon Diggs, Kiara Elam, and then either Deron Bland or Reddy Stewart, whoever plays there. Dallas has led the 3rd most fantasy points so far this season. Remember what Wandale did last week? Love that. The other side of this is the
CD Lamb and George Pickens versus the Bears.
Lamb and Pickens against Tyreek Stevenson, Deshaun Wright, and then either Kyler Gordon or if he's still out, Nick McLeod. Jalen Johnson, one of the best corners in the NFL, done for probably the season. He's on IR, so the Bears are really struggling. They've allowed a ton to wide receivers as is, and now they have these injuries they're dealing with. Upgrade all the receivers in this game.
I want to ask you guys about this Commanders receiving core because right now you still have Terry McLaurin ranked ahead of Deebo Samuel. We just talked about this with Rome Odunze and DJ Moore as like which one of them is the wide receiver 1. Do you think that there will be a wide receiver 1 in this Commanders receiving core, or do you believe it's just going to be a committee between these two guys?
I think McLaurin will be the better fantasy option, but he's historically not had a big target share. So it's not like he's getting 30% and Deebo's getting 20%. It's probably going to be like 22% and 20%, something like that. So It's just one of them things. It's like, man, can we get Terry more
involved?
Give him a boost.
They're finding ways to get the ball in Deebo Samuel's hands. It feels like they haven't really found a way to do that as well with Terry McLaurin so far this year.
McLaurin also, these are the kind of things that you say and then you get nervous they get proven wrong, like that season. Felt like pretty much everything that could go right for Terry McLaurin last year did go right.
Sure.
Despite okay catch production. Like, we're not talking about a 105 catch guy. We're talking about a player who I think was at like 83 last year. 13 receiving touchdowns. So 1 in 7 catches, basically, going for a touchdown is pretty astronomical. 1 in 7.5. Yeah.
Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel. Also, I used this stat when I was talking about Troy Franklin. But Deebo Samuel has 9 targets at or behind the line of scrimmage through 2 games.
Ball, baby.
They are giving him a ton of manufactured touches in this offense, which for us in a PPR league, like that's what we're looking for. So I feel like
should be doing that.
Deebo's got a really nice little lift for you if you drafted him here. I feel like this is going to be closer. I've actually got Deebo ahead of Terry McLaurin this week. I think I'm the only ranker here, but I think they're pretty close.
Yeah, I think it is close.
So. All right, Mike, who else you got here to be able to talk about?
Yeah, a couple others to watch. I'm not moving the value much for these guys, but here's a couple other shadow situations I'm expecting for this week. L'Jarius Sneed shadowing Michael Pittman. He shadowed when he played in week 1 against Cortland Sutton and full-time shadowed Devontae Adams last week. Didn't go great for him, but Surtain did a decent job against Pittman last week, so we've seen teams try to shadow him a little bit, but kind of neutral. Again, I'm not super worried about that one. AJ Terrell, I don't think he's going to play this week now.
Agree, yeah.
If he does, probably on Tedero and McMillan, but not worried about that because, again, I don't think he's going to play. And then Pat Surtain on Quentin Johnston. This is a tricky one here because you might think, why not Keenan Allen? Why not Ladd McConkey? It's the same thing I talked about earlier. It's just Johnson's the clear number 1 on the perimeter, the guy that's making the downfield plays. That's a guy Surtain usually shadows. And we've seen this before. Surtain shadowed back in 2022, shadowed Mike Williams instead of Keenan Allen. Last year, he shadowed Josh Palmer, not Ladd McConkey. And actually, back in 2023, granted, like everyone was hurt. It was that game where Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Josh Palmer were all out. Yeah. Surtain actually shadowed Quentin Johnston in that game. Johnson had 29 yards on 5 targets. I think he's going to be on him quite a bit either way, but he could be on him full-time when he's on the perimeter, so a little bit nervous about that.
A couple of early week injury notes, including one on the Chargers, is Ladd missed practice yesterday with a biceps injury, so if something prevents him from playing on Sunday, we'll obviously update what that might mean for Quentin Johnston, the potential Pat Surtain-Sato, and just general target share and things of that nature. Brock Purdy did practice yesterday in a limited capacity. Obviously, we'll have a whole lot more coverage of that because it's one of the biggest injury storylines that we are monitoring. Jaden Daniels did not practice yesterday. I'm sure everybody listening or watching knows that.
Yeah, they said he's not going to practice
until
Wednesday
or
Thursday.
Friday.
Yep. Yeah, so that actually keeps the window open to me. That's why he's still in the projections. The fact that it was worded that way.
I also like last year he was like basically not going to play all week, and then he played on Sunday. So against the Bears in that game against Caleb Williams that ended in a Hail Mary, of course. So I am holding out hope for Jaden myself.
Yeah, I watched the Marcus Mariota presser very closely yesterday to see if he would tip off like sometimes may say a phrase that makes you think, oh, he's preparing to start. He did not do that at all. So that makes
Mahomes last week was talking about like, it's going to suck to not have Xavier Worthy for a little bit of time here. You're like, oh, okay, well, Xavier Worthy's probably not going to play.
You can kind of see what they're thinking and kind of hear words that kind of tip you off as to what's going to happen, and that did not happen with him.
That at least feels like when Mahomes said that, like even if Xavier Worthy's on the field,
benched?
Right? Yeah. Like come on, you're not benching Patrick Mahomes. And by the way, they won't have like quote full Xavier Worthy for a while. Patrick Mahomes isn't real. The Xavier Worthy they're going to get, it is going to be like a limited Xavier Worthy.
I got to do some digging on this. I don't know the answer. Is the answer like, hey, he is well enough to get on the field, but he will be limited? Or is it one of those where it's like, once you're good enough to play, once you are strong enough to play, you are on the field, and the only thing that takes you off the field is a hit that dislocates your shoulder again.
Okay.
And so to be able to parlay ourselves out of that, Fields Yates, our YouTube chat has officially decided 71% of the chat believes you should start Wan'Dale Robinson.
Okay. There you have it.
All right.
Did you mean segue or parlay? Is that
I said parlay. I meant segue.
I was like, oh,
I was going to say, I was like,
to do a parlay?
Is there a parlay coming up that I don't see on the note
I'm down for a parlay here, my friends. I mean, why not put a little bit of extra something on this?
All right.
Let's move ahead, talk about a Thursday night football preview. Bills and Dolphins, my friends. How many Bills is too many Bills to start against the Miami Dolphins?
4. I think 2 are startable for sure.
2 are definitely startable. Okay, so you're talking about a running back and a quarterback.
Jimbo Cook, and I'm calling him Jimbo.
Jimbo.
I think it's a great name. Josh Allen, Jimbo Cook. And then I think it's probably 1 pass catcher, right? Now, deciding exactly who that 1 pass catcher is might be tricky. It's not like more than 1 can't go off, but I think we feel, and I'm going to speak for the group here, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if you're going to take the roll of the dice on 1 Bills receiver, it's Keon Cole.
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed.
So I think it's 2.5 is the answer of number of Bills you are starting tonight, and you have to choose between the over and the under. It's a great matchup, though. The Dolphins are, to borrow a line from Mike Clay, check this out, 13.5-point favorites.
That's a huge
at
number.
ESPN Bet. That's a gigantic number. And a lot of times when you see a number that large, it's a team probably like last week with the Ravens. They're playing a Browns team that's just not good on offense. The Dolphins can at least be okay on offense.
Yeah.
They're 13.5-point dogs. That's a huge number. That's gigantic. Honestly, and this is going to sound crazy to me, to most, but of course you're starting him. Of course you're starting Josh Allen. There's no thought to doing anything other than starting him. But there's 3% of me that is nervous that they could do what happened last week. They're up by 25 at the end of the first half, and Josh Allen exits the game in the third quarter with 112 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 13 rushing yards.
All right, so question, are you starting Josh Allen or Mitch Trubisky then?
Yeah, I'm starting Josh Allen still. I'm just saying, 3% of me is nervous. This game is so non-competitive that Josh is eating a hot dog on the sideline in the fourth quarter like Mark Sanchez.
I will say this, couple injuries for Buffalo in this game, including Ed Oliver up front. So perhaps that allows Miami to score a few extra points and keep this thing competitive. I think that's what we're hoping.
So to get back on track, so I'm being, there is a chance Josh is out of the game early because the game is so disparate. That being said, you're still starting Josh Allen. I think the real question marks going into this game are surrounding the Dolphins wide receivers. That to me is the question is, you're starting Devon Achane. He's been exceptional through 2 games. Tua, I would lean against starting, but all the quarterback injuries, I understand there will be some teams that will be streaming Tua tonight.
Right.
That being said, it's Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Waddle, by the way, is questionable to play. We'll know an hour and a half away. I do think he will play tonight. Is Tyreek Hill a lineup lock? No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm putting him in.
He's still a lineup lock, but that doesn't mean I have to feel good about starting him.
Okay.
I feel okay. Just his target share is a little over 20%. We want it to be higher. It's not where it was a couple of years ago. It's up a little from last year. And he's coming off a game over 100 yards and 7 targets last week. I think as long as he's hanging around that 7 target mark with his ability, he should never be on benches.
So trending a little bit up after last week, Tyreek Hill, there are some good signs there. And if this game does play out like Vegas thinks it will play out, there should be a lot of passing opportunities in this game for Miami.
Yep.
Is Jalen Waddle in the same category, or is he a cut below? 11 targets so far for Jalen Waddle in 2 games. I think the co-leaders for targets for Miami through 2 games are Tyreek Hill and Devon Achane. So is Waddle a notch below in your guys' eyes, or is he similar to Tyreek?
I think Tyreek Hill is still a wide receiver too for my squad, and Waddle is more like a flex play if I need him. That's where I've got him ranked.
And he's coming off a good game, 5 for 68 and a touchdown last week. His target share is up a little from last year, but again, not where it was a couple of years ago. So we still need more out of him, a little more usage. But again, you can see on the screen I have him projected for 65 yards and 7 touchdowns. We'll take that. That. By the way, it says 0 carries for 1 yard. That's a rounding deal there where he's has a small chance to get a carry. Yeah.
This is why I don't trust your projections, Mike. They just don't make any sense.
I'm actually
kind of happy that this came up because I get this question occasionally on social, and I'm sure Mike gets it more often on social. But just to educate those that maybe have ever wondered on this, sometimes you'll notice on Mike's projections it'll say, for example, a guy is projected for 5 catches for 62 yards and 0 touchdowns, and his projection, you would think, 5 for 62. That's 11.2 points. It's actually 13.7.
Because he gets 0.4 touchdowns.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Correct. So, Mike, if a player is projected for under a half a touchdown, you give him a 0?
No, he gets 0.4. He gets 0.4 of 6.
When it lines up of here, right?
Well, if you round it down, if it's under, my daughter's in school right now. My 4th grader is learning rounding, right? So which way you round it down. So if it's 0.49, it's going to round down. If it's 0.5, it's going to round down to 0. If it's 0.5 or higher, it's going to round up to 1.
I do the same thing because I'm 5'10" and 3/4, so I'm not 6 foot. I'm actually 5'10" is what I'm supposed to say, right?
Okay, no, you just round it up. Just say you're 7 foot.
Yeah, I was going to say. Thank you.
Oh, the other way? Okay, I got to go the other direction.
No, but and that's just for visualization. When it's actually calculated for rankings or like ordering players, obviously, like, you know, if it's 0.5, if he's projected for 0.5 touchdowns, you essentially get 3 added on because that's half of 6 points. Anyway, I'm getting into the nerdy stuff.
I love the nerdy stuff. Why
counts.
not?
It counts. It doesn't just round to 0 or 1. That would make the projections.
We talked NBA trades. We talked nerdy, rounding errors.
Sometimes I catch myself. I start talking about it. I'm just like, I don't know what's to hear about all this.
Is anyone else also
There's
listening?
There's like 3 people that are like, no, keep going.
Well, there is somebody in our YouTube chat that does want us to answer a question about a player we were just talking about, and that's on Jalen Waddle. This comes from Jesse, wants to know, would you start Jalen Waddle or Troy Franklin? I'm still in on Jalen Waddle over Troy Franklin.
Yeah, me too. I'm on Waddle.
Sorry, I was just thinking about a time when somebody submitted a question on Chatters.
I got to be real careful when I look extra long at the name before
I. Name. What was the name there? Was
Jesse. It was Jesse Lou, I believe.
Luis, yeah.
Was it Luis?
Jesse Luis. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So that was a pretty standard one. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
How about you? Are you also going Jalen Waddle over Troy Franklin?
Jalen Waddle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I got to worry about you being on your phone, putting in a question via chat, and it's actually you, not anyone else.
Yeah.
Like trying to bury me.
Fields up to something. What is
up to something?
I am, just for what it's worth, and we already talked about this, but the one thing that I want to watch is this a game in which Keon Coleman, because everyone else has dominated against this Dolphins wide receiving core, can he look like an alpha in this Bills offense? Like, I really want to see him look like the guy that we've kind of projected him to be. And if there was ever a matchup where that's supposed to happen, I think it would be here against the Dolphins.
Keon Coleman?
I'm looking for the boom game from Keon.
Yeah, again, worried about him playing half the snaps like he did last week, but here's where I'd get nervous. Same as you with Josh Allen. Like, we got to hit early. We got to hit early.
Yes.
On this one, I'm nervous about that.
Because there's an alternative path where Josh is out in the middle of the third quarter because he threw for 225 and 3 touchdowns in the first half.
They might not go to Coleman, so I just want to get it out of the way early on.
I'm just saying,
yeah, because you just don't know how they're going to use him.
I would do first half bets. If I'm heading over to ESPN Bet, rather than do the entire game, I might look at just the first half because that's where you know it's going to be competitive for the Bills.
I like that call. By the way, Khalil Shakir, we needed the big target share for him, like what we got last year, to kept him in lineups, but he doesn't get the ball near the goal line. The target share is down this season. Obviously, fantasy production hasn't been there. So for me, an uninspiring flex.
All right, Field and I are taking the Bills. Mike, you're taking the Dolphins. Is that right?
Taking the Bills.
You're also taking the Bills.
I tell you what, this is an incredibly important game for the Dolphins. I just think for like the trajectory of the franchise here, if they get smoked tonight, like Vegas forecasts, and like I think a lot of America thinks is possible, could sweeping changes take place sooner than later in Miami?
Yeah.
I mean, you mean not just like player changes, but potential front office coaching changes.
You name it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe because it's going to be 32-19 Bills. So
it's going to be to 32-19.
That would be respectable, though.
Yeah.
They would cover.
Yeah, they would cover, but I still don't think it's going to feel too good.
I know, but I mean, if it's 38-7, that would really.
Wait, what's the spread? The spread's 13.5?
13.5.
And you've got it at 13?
I have 13, yeah, so it's close. That's common.
This is why everyone thinks you're a computer, is because you're basically
you are Vegas.
Yeah, you're spitting out
I'm usually
numbers.
within a few points, but
Mike,
if I wasn't,
Microsoft
I'd be nervous.
Vegas Clay.
Yeah, and we knew you were a computer after the first week of the Raheim Sanders Monopoly Fund by you picking that guy.
I hate that you got it
I
right.
ruined it. I ruined it for
the worst.
Field.
All right, so here's the deal. With the way we're doing long shots, in case you didn't listen yesterday, we have now made a rule. Every time that a long shot gets hit, we have to half the percentage of the player that we are rostering. So we were only looking at players that were under 1% rostered. Now we have to look at players that are under 0.5% rostered to be able to have them be in our
I like it, though.
feed.
Okay, Daniel,
All right, still
you're
some,
first. You're
there's
first,
still some
Daniel.
decent options.
I have some information after Daniel makes his pick. Funny
Information.
I don't know.
All right. Well, my first pick, because I cannot believe this player was under 0.5% rostered, is going to be. I'm going to go with Tyrod Taylor.
I thought we were doing. Oh, it's an anytime
touchdown.
I thought we agreed no quarterbacks.
I think Tyrod Taylor gets in with his legs.
Okay.
You want me to go a different direction because you don't like the quarterback call?
No, I thought we said we weren't doing quarterbacks,
okay.
but as long as it's just
all right. Well, no,
you'll win.
No, as long as
Hold
it's
on.
anytime touchdowns.
I just heard Field do the thing that happens when it's like, no, that's fine, whatever. As soon as you hear whatever, it's like, you know what?
I'm disappointed.
I'm pretty sure you're the one who said no quarterback, so I was surprised, but also I don't.
You have a pivot?
I'm
going to pivot. While you guys put in yours, I'm going to pivot. I'll go last now.
Make your pick because I have some information.
Okay, mine is Kendrick Bourne.
That was my pick too.
What?
No, it's not.
I had.
Did you see my
hand
pick?
to God. No, our producer, Christina, texted me this morning and was like, hey, you and Mike both pick Kendrick Bourne.
No way.
Can you pivot? And I was like, I would gladly do
I will pivot. Do you want me to pivot?
Do you have another option?
I can do one.
No. You keep Kendrick
Bourne. Are you feel
Bourne.
comfortable with your other option?
Yes,
I thought the
funny.
idea was if we had the same one, we would just split the pot if he scored.
Well, whatever. It's a good pick by you. Yeah.
Okay. So
Kendrick Bourne, by the way, is a 49er. We understand that. The graphic.
Yeah. 0.3% rostered. Played half the snaps last week. Only 3 targets. But you may recall the slot man for the Panthers scored 2 touchdowns against Arizona.
Hunter Renfrow, baby.
Renfrow. Yeah. So give me Kendrick Bourne. I'll tell you when we're all done. I'll tell you who my backup option is.
Lot of injuries for the Cardinals secondary right now. A lot of injuries. Like they could be down 2 of their top 3 corners. Daniel, who's your pick?
All right, so I am going to change things up, and I'm going to go with a running back.
Okay.
Rashard Smith.
Okay. All right, he's 2 opportunities this season.
He has 2 opportunities, and you know what? Nobody else in that backfield looks inspiring at all, except for the guy named Patrick Mahomes. So why not just go with a running back, Rashard Smith, hopefully being able to get in the end zone.
All right, so the perfect pick for this last week would have been not Tyquan Thornton. I mean, he was the correct pick. But the perfect pick last week would have been Devontae Walker. Tez Walker, Ravens' 4th-round pick a year ago, who had 2 catches for 26 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's a pretty decent chance that Tez Walker has 0 more touchdowns the rest of the season. He might not even get the 10 more catches the rest of the season. There's no logical person that would say to themselves, it's going to happen again this weekend. And that's why I'm throwing logic out the window and going back to the Tez Walker well, baby. A lot of points on Monday night.
When I was looking yesterday, I was like, should we also eliminate players that have touchdowns? But I didn't know if that would water it down too much.
Maybe,
like it has to be their first touchdown of the season. But obviously,
you would have never picked Tez Walker because you're too pragmatic. You're like, again, my projections had him for 1.7 touchdowns all season.
Well, he scored 2 last week. That would have felt like cheating. But, you do. I'm just kidding. My other option was no, that's okay. My other option would have been Jalen Lane. I was thinking about it, but I mean, he's not much of a guy that's used near the goal line, though. He's like a short range guy, but with no Noah Brown, he's already playing a little bit. He's going to be involved in this Washington offense. So that was my my other option. I cut it down to 2 and then went Bourne.
I have one more that I got to give to you guys because our producers have one as well. And our producers are picking this week the starting tight end for the Chicago Bears, Cole Kmet, to be able to get in the end zone.
That's a good one, too.
Wow. Yeah. And you just want as much of that game as you can get. I didn't realize.
I like that call.
I believe Olamide Zaccheaus would have been eligible if Mike hadn't hit last week.
Yes.
He's at like 0.7%.
Now he's at
I'm
0.7.
actually surprised by that number.
That's why I suggested that, because I was like, I don't want to pick him. That's I haven't projected for like 8 points this week, and that doesn't feel like in the spirit of this game. So I'm glad we're under 0.5% now.
All right, so the players that we have chosen, I took Rashard Smith. Fields, you took?
I took Tez Walker.
Tez Walker again.
Mike, I'll have 2 guys this week.
I mean, I'm going to back up out of the Tyrod Taylor conversation.
But if he scores, you're going to be mad.
If he has 3 touchdowns on Sunday, of course I'm going to give you credit.
Yeah. I have Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah. Kendrick Bourne. Okay. And then obviously our producers have Cole Kmet, so that'll be a good one.
And Kendrick Bourne would be a great person to score a touchdown, because if he does, and especially if the 49ers win, Monday Night Football during the 2-minute recap by Boomer at halftime, Kendrick Bourne identity finds the end zone against the Arizona Cardinals.
There's some things that just never get old, and I love being able to listen to that.
Oh my God.
It's so, listen to Boomer in the War Room especially. It's great. It's,
that was my favorite show on TV growing up was 740 to 820.
The best.
Like NFL primetime. Never missed it.
If a Patriot got a game ball, it made my week. And the Patriots won literally every weekend growing up, so it was like all I cared about for those days was like, a Patriot got a game ball. This is awesome.
That's so
Rodney Harrison got one. Let's go.
I never got a game ball. I never played a sport where I could get a game ball at the end of a game. Have you ever gotten a game ball?
I fortunately have, yes. But the thing is that any athletic accomplishments that I have in the past are so insignificant because my wife is a legitimately sick athlete now. She's incredibly athletic.
If the daughters get athleticism, it's coming from Chapin, not from you.
It is not from me. If they get my athleticism, we're not getting scholarships.
They just want Fields' hair. That's all.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. All right, well, hopefully you're starting Wan'Dale Robinson this week. Have fun with Thursday Night Football, and we'll be back tomorrow for part 2 of our Week 3 preview. We'll see you guys then.